Today I'm going to be doing a quick review of Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Yep. So it's a pretty popular novel on BookTube. It's kind of YA-ish. So I'm going to give it a quick review. It's pretty entertaining. It's a good, light, entertaining read. I like to fit some of those in sometimes when I get a little bogged down with more dense stuff, especially with classwork. I like to have something like that I can turn to kind of lighten the mood or to ease my brain a little bit. Essentially, it's kind of like the future where there's an internet kind of deal, like a virtual reality world that everyone kind of hangs out in, and the guy who invented it left his fortune and control of the world and the company to whoever can solve like this giant involved riddle. Kind of like a Willy Wonka situation. I think on here someone said it is like combining Willy Wonka with The Matrix, which I feel like is kind of accurate. Yeah, I can't find it. Whatever. I think I've seen that somewhere. Anyway, so the main character is this kid, and while the virtual world is thriving, the real world is kind of really messed up. There's large amounts of like poverty and power outages, and really not a pleasant place to live, which drives even more people into the virtual world. And while that's an interesting idea, this book doesn't really address solving any of the problems in the real world. It only deals with this one particular adventure, which I think is interesting because it's not taking like a dystopian, what's common among dystopian novels, or especially YA dystopian stuff, is like, oh, a cure for, society. It's really not. It's just the guy and his story. Anyway, in his adventures, he meets up with other people. It's really entertaining because a lot of it is built on cultural references, and is really funny. But as far as like my 5 criterion high thoughts, I'll give it like half that. It's an interesting concept, but there's a lot of the most interesting and applicable parts of it aren't addressed at all. There is passion in this book. I feel like passion for the cultural references and all of those things. The way it's structured isn't remarkable at all. It's pretty straightforward, average. The writing's entertaining and fun, but is not anything crazy or special. All in all, I'd say that I enjoyed this book. It was a fun read. It's something you could read on the beach, or if you just wanted something entertaining, like on a train ride or a bus ride or in the car or something. I would definitely suggest it. If you're a fan of the 80s, I would suggest it. There's a lot of 80s references in there. Which, weirdly enough, I got quite a few, even though I'm not a child of the 80s. I was proud of myself. Oh, there it is. Right on the front. Willy Wonka meets The Matrix. Okay, good. I wasn't just imagining that. Yeah, so this is definitely, I feel like, you could ease someone into this. Like, this could be, like, the entryway before you start giving them, like, if they like this, and then maybe, like, the Hunger Games, and then you're like, oh, you like dystopian stuff. Here's 1984. Here's A Brave New World. Kind of get them hooked on the idea of dystopias, and then lay the thick stuff on them. Anyway, all in all, it's a pretty decent book. I don't know, I'd give it like two stars. 1 to 2, somewhere in there. And this is where we run into these distinctions. Like, as a book, as a form of entertainment, it did its job excellently. It would be a 4 in entertainment value. As a piece of literature, 1, maybe 1.5. Because it doesn't accomplish many of the criteria I look for. So yeah, that's interesting. See, these are the quandary you get into when you start trying to define these things like that. Anyway, it's kind of unfair because I read this before I changed how I reviewed, and now I am reviewing it with my new rules, which are set up definitely to make it hard for a book like this to get a very high rating, which doesn't mean that it's not an entertaining book. It just means that I don't think this would stand up to anything in what I consider the canon, which is a video I'm going to make soon, is addressing the issue of literary traditions or the canon. Anyway, I'll stop blabbing on. Read it for something fun to read, interesting. If you like the 80s, you'll like that. And as always, happy reading and have a good life.